Welcome back to another vlog, and in this vlog we are going to do something a little bit different because we've got to go back in time, because I've been rubbish at vlogging, filming, doing any conversations. So I'm going to show you what I have vlogged and I'm going to talk over it. So go and grab yourself your favourite drink. I have a iced coffee with a lot of froth thanks to my milk frother, and we are going to talk about how this second week of the rough draft challenge has gone. It's gone a little bit like my filming went, a little bit all over the place. So we're going to go back to Thursday the 9th of July, where the only thing I had on my to-do list was to write the whole day, and I got insomnia the day before and I really struggled. My husband helped me, took the boys to school. I had a tiny little bit of a lay-in, which really meant I just laid in bed and didn't go back to sleep, but at least I didn't have to do like the whole school run and everything like that. So I got up knowing that I just needed to write, and I ended up sitting on the sofa with a massive headache, just in my pyjamas, and feeling so frustrated that I had half of a day to write because I had an event for my eldest son at the school to attend in the afternoon. That started at 1:30, so I already had less time to write, and then didn't have the brain capacity. It wasn't even the desire to write, it was the brain capacity to write, thanks to insomnia. And I was already behind. Like, this has been a really difficult book to get into. I had already written 11,195 words, but by the end of that day I needed just over 14,500 words, and it seemed like on paper I would be able to get that done, and then in real life there was just no way it was going to happen. I ended up having a real peaceful morning, journaling, reminding myself just to be kind to myself, that the whole point of this writing challenge, although yes, I did want to write 50,000 words in the month of July, the real challenge and the real goal for July was to make progress on this book and end July with the motivation, the brain capacity, the enthusiasm, the energy levels to complete the book in August. And so with my journaling and being kind to myself and reminding myself of that, it just took a little bit of the pressure off. It just helped me, one, medicine to kick in to clear that headache, two, caffeine to kick in to wake me up a little bit, and just grounded myself and just realised that, yes, this book has been really difficult to get into, but I didn't need to beat myself up about that, and I didn't need to have the threat of summer hanging over me, where I knew that my author days that I normally get now when my kids are in school would be gone, and that I would switch to mum mode and like, am I really going to be able to do this? I just took all of those pressures, those thoughts, really unhelpful thoughts and fears, and probably irrational and completely over exaggerated fears, to just chill out, love. Like, just sit on the sofa, have caffeine, sort your headache out, and then see how you feel. I actually, whilst I was doing that, come to the decision that some of the reasons behind why this book has been so difficult to get into is because it's a new story that I haven't really thought about. Like, it is, when I say it's a new story, this story idea popped up 2-3 months ago max, and it's not had the time for me to think about loads of scenes or how this book feels and things like that. So although I've planned it how I normally plan it, it has felt difficult to get into it, on top of the fact that I'm really struggling in the heat that we've got in the UK, and being creative in that when all you want to do is just sit on the sofa in front of a fan and do absolutely nothing has been difficult, on top of the fact that I have been writing and writing and writing from one book to the next for a good few months. I reckon 10 months, probably from the last November writing challenge. It's been a lot of writing and I've loved it, but maybe I'm just creatively worn out, on top of the fact that I don't have a lot of creative ideas around this book that have accumulated over time, that it just is an awful lot, on top of the fact that there is some fear around this project that I'm not going to go into just yet. At some point you will know all of the details about this project, but there's been some fear there and I've needed to get over that and push past it, and I'm making progress, but boy, this Thursday was really difficult. But what essentially happened was I sat down as I was journaling and decided that this was going to be the last book that I was writing in 2026. And I'd planned to have another book. Actually, I'd planned to write this many books. However, I've swapped this book for another book. When I shoehorned the book that I'm writing now into this, I decided to push back the other book and finish it at the end of 2026. That's not going to happen. We're going to focus on editing and retopping up the creative well, because yeah, I think I am creatively just a little bit worn out and I don't want to burn out. So I'm just being very mindful of that. And then after all that, I did actually sit down and write classic Marie. And I thought, I'll just do 10 minutes and I'll see how we go. And yeah, wrote 2,000 words. I mean, that's really impressive with insomnia, headache, being in my pyjamas for the majority of the morning, and then having to finish work early, getting 2,000 words down. I actually ate into my deficit, although I still wasn't like caught up, and I'd hoped to catch up on that day. The fact that I made progress, the fact that I ate into my deficit is pretty astounding, and I am taking that as a massive win. Friday, I didn't do any writing, and this whole challenge I've been very open with the fact that I don't want to write every day, so I do know that that means I'm gonna be in a deficit if I'm not writing every day. It's with the caveat that at the weekends on my author days I will catch up, but that's the issue with that Thursday when I'm like, I am gonna catch up on my author day, and then didn't catch up on my author day, that it sends me for a bit of a loop. But on Saturday I was thinking, that's fine, like we will just write, we will catch up now. And yeah, I had all the plans. I was going to write multiple sessions across the weekend, and I was going to catch up, and I was going to get maybe like slightly ahead and hit the ground running and just feel energy behind this project. And again, I woke up and did not want to write in the morning. That's fine, I don't need to write in the morning. We went to a local event and had some lovely family time for a couple of hours, which made me then want to come home and just fall asleep on the sofa. I ended up really resisting writing, and then I sat out in the garden in the shade because of the heat, and I got the smallest little urge to sit down and write. And so I took my laptop out into the shade, put my lo-fi on in my headphones, and wrote. I got the smallest amount of shots, so I really do apologise, but I wrote 3,800 words sitting out in the garden. That is my highest word total so far, and there was a breakthrough. A story idea literally popped into my head as I was writing, and when I stopped writing, I think I then had to do like dinner or something like that. I was like furiously Googling in between dinner preparations on this story idea and how this would work out, and you know, the research needed behind this story idea, like this small little story element. And it sort of tumbled into this quite emotional scene. This couple do connect, they've got like these enemies vibes going on, and they do connect over this emotional scene, which on the surface of it was like a real, not a big issue, but boy, did this like scene idea make it a really big issue. Anyway, I can't go into too many details obviously, but I was like, I've got an idea and I'm going to be writing it very soon. Like, it's not this scene, it's the next scene, and then the next one will be a completely new scene. And oh, I felt that spark of creativity, that enthusiasm, like just I want to get this down on paper, like I need to get it out of my system. Like, I felt emotional thinking about it, and I always think that is hopefully a really good indicator that this scene could really hit hard for readers if I feel it. Now, I don't know whether that actually works itself out, but oh, I just wanted to write, and that's the first time that I felt that on this book. But I didn't push it. I didn't think, right, well, let's carry on writing, because I had other stuff that needed to get done, and I knew that I had Sunday. So I actually managed to tick off quite a lot of bits on my bingo board writing in the garden, doing a double word count goal day, surprising development, and then there's just like a few hints of other things that I can tick off on my bingo card that will be coming quite soon because of this day, like the adding a new scene and obviously getting closer to my next word count. So then we get to Sunday and oh look, the story happens again. I didn't want to write, guys. It's now becoming the point where, to begin with, I was feeling resistance to sit down and write this story, and then I was feeling resistance as I was writing the story. Like the story actually felt difficult to write. Now what's happening is I'm feeling resistant to sit down and start writing, but when I do start to write, the story is flowing easier. It's not necessarily always flowing and pouring out of me as I've had in the past for other books and other scenes, but it's definitely easier than it was right at the beginning. So I definitely know I'm getting into the story, that I'm feeling immersed in the story. Obviously ideas are popping up and there's definitely progress there, but for the fact that I felt so enthusiastic the day before on this story idea that I didn't want to write is so annoying. There's just like this theme going for this whole book and it's really frustrating. It's honestly like pulling teeth at the moment with this manuscript, and I was really hoping that spark of that story idea would change that around, and clearly from Sunday it didn't. I don't know whether it's like the heat, I don't know whether it's creative exhaustion, I don't know whether it's this project. Honestly, it's just each book that I write is so different and I have to then figure out ways to tackle that. Anyway, I was sitting outside, I was actually reading and I was sort of on the cusp of, I think it was afternoon, sitting again in the shade in my favourite little spot. I was reading, contemplating, not even writing for the day and just being like, do you know what? It's not happening today. And then as I was reading, I think I literally stopped in the middle of the chapter that I was reading and thought, I'm gonna write. So I rushed and grabbed my laptop. It's so funny because I'm not even reading a book related to my book. Like I'm reading a historical romance at the moment. I'm going for a little binge of historical romance because I do love that. But I just went and grabbed my laptop, started writing. And again, once I'd got over that resistance, it did start to flow. And I am very happy to say that for the first time in the Rough Draft Challenge this July, so far I have actually managed to surpass and get ahead of the graph and like the daily word track, and I surpassed 20,000 words on the manuscript, which boy did that feel good. Which was also really, really good because it was a Sunday, which meant I was meant to be planning, which meant my reward could be my stickers. And I just sat down and used my stickers, did my plan for the next week because I'd also been procrastinating on that. See, it's not just my writing that I've been procrastinating on. My house is a mess. There's so much to do. I've got so much things to remember and plan for the kids to finish up school. Like, it's been a lot. And I just took a moment to sit down, use my stickers. It's the little things in life. That was really quite nice. So then we get to Monday the 13th of July and I didn't really have any intention to write that day, but actually my sister-in-law called me up and asked if my boys wanted to go with her and her daughter to the scooter park, and they jumped at the chance. So I managed to finish work. I did a food shop online and I went and sat outside as my husband was adding even more to the food shop on my laptop, and I thought, I'm going to write a little bit. Now I'm ahead, so I don't necessarily need to write loads, but I'm gonna take the opportunity of a quiet house, sitting in my favourite spot yet again, in the garden, and I'm gonna write on my phone because that is a box on my Rough Draft Challenge bingo that needs to be ticked off. And it's really funny because most of the 22, 23 books that I've written have all been on my phone. You know, snatching little pockets of time on the school run, you know, when I'm waiting or in a queue or whatever, just 10 minutes even, just getting down to write. And since the November writing challenge, I have swapped and I just do most of my writing on my laptop now. One, because it gives me so much more words than one I'm writing on my phone in the same amount of time. But now I just am in the habit of writing, and obviously it's probably better for my wrists and like repetitive strain to be writing on my laptop. But as my laptop was indisposed and as my bingo board had a nice little empty box for writing on my phone, I thought I'm going to sit outside and I'm going to write on my phone, and I did. Oh, it was really difficult. It was so difficult. I don't know whether it's now like my nows as well, but I cannot describe how difficult it was. And I was like, there is no way this felt this difficult, because I wouldn't have been able to write all of those books if it was this difficult. Anyway, I did write, ticked off that on my bingo board, which was very nice. And I think I just wrote like 800 words. It was a really low word count day, but what it meant was that because I'd already been ahead, I then stayed ahead on that day. And this whole, like for this challenge, staying ahead isn't really like a massive goal, but I think because of how difficult it's been really quite nice to feel like I've made progress and I'm ahead. So on Tuesday, I didn't write at all. And so on Wednesday, we come to my penultimate author day before my boys break up for school, and I knew what I wanted to do. I went back to Starbucks just like I did the week before, and I went and wrote. No admin bits, no other things on my to-do list, no errands to drag me away from the coffee shop, just writing. Had my headphones in, did some writing. Again, just, you know, the theme of this week. Didn't really vlog anything. Actually, I don't think I vlogged anything at all. It just was me and, well, obviously an awful lot of people, but just me writing and adding in that emotional scene that I've slotted in that I wasn't expecting to be in this book, which means obviously I've ticked off another box in my rough draft challenge bingo board. But I just wanted to enjoy my last author day before the summer holidays, before I swap to mum mode. My author days will fizzle out into absolutely nothing until the kids go back in September. I ended my writing session at 24,495 words, which means that it was like another day of 3,300 words, which was pretty impressive and made up for the fact that I didn't write on Tuesday. Just short of being 50% of the way through this whole challenge. And I've got a bit of a plan moving into the rest of July now that my boys are going to be off school, and going into August, of how I'm going to actually finish this book, not just for the challenge but the whole book in itself as well. And basically I've just thought about the fact that if I was to write across 4 days, so like essentially my 2 author days, which might have to just be like really early morning sessions, or, you know, writing in the evening, that sort of thing, and weekends, how much would I need to get down on the page to finish? And I reckon about 2,800 words on those days, which is a lot, but I think it's doable to get it done, especially because I'm hoping that actually I will want to write on other days as well. So we're on track to get this book finished. We're on track to get the rough draft challenge completed by July, and then the whole book finished by the end of August. And so that is a very bizarre week as an author, and a very bizarre week for the rough draft challenge. I'm sorry I didn't record loads of it. I do feel like I'm slowly progressing, that it's slowly getting easier, and I'm hopeful that it will continue to get easier, and that even if it isn't necessarily easier, it's still doable. And my biggest resistance at the moment is more actually physically sitting down to write and not the writing itself. So that's definitely progress. But I do have that one little sneaky box on my bingo board of pushing through resistance. Now, when I wrote that down, that was around like, oh, I can't really be bothered to write today, and then writing, and I've not ticked that off because I could tell that there was resistance around this whole project. So I feel like I'm on the cusp of being able to tick that off, but I'm not ticking it off just yet because I want to push through this, and that's going to be a huge thing to push through and mark off, which is ironic because when I put that down on the list, it was just a throwaway box of, yeah, whatever, you know, at one point I'll find this difficult. I didn't think I'd find this whole thing difficult, so fingers crossed I get to mark that off soon. That'd be really nice. I'm coming up to some great moments. There are going to be some steamy scenes coming up, and I think those are the points of the book that I will start to really feel like things are escalating here, things are in flow. Fingers crossed all resistance goes. So even though it is going to be more difficult to sit down and write and dedicate that time around kids and school holidays and working part-time anyway, I'm hoping we can get that flow. But thank you so much for sticking with me for this random vlog. Hope you liked seeing something a little bit different. In the next vlog we are going to have a whole day together for my last author day of the summer. Fingers crossed, getting some admin bits done and then getting some more writing done. And maybe ticking off a box or two on my bingo board. If you've enjoyed this vlog, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Happy reading!